All righty, welcome everyone. Welcome joining us today. It is a fine summery day here in Reno. Tim, how you doing?
I am awesome. And if every now and again, Alex, you see me with a tissue here, I'm just so choked up and happy to be with you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just dying with allergies. So bear with me if I wipe my eyes every now and again. But yes,
It's
it
time
is a
for it.
beautiful day. You are in Northern Nevada. I'm in Northern California. And the weather is beautiful. And so it's halfway through the week, which means what, Alex? It's almost
It is almost Friday, my friends. We are getting closer and closer, and I'm very excited. It's going to be a nice chill vacation, and I'm going to have, or I should say weekend, not vacation, but that's what it's going to feel like. The weather's nice now. I get to hike again. I'm very excited.
That's
All right.
awesome. Okay, so just to recap a little bit for
Mhm.
everybody in attendance and Alex, for you and I, basically just to recap, this is our fourth webinar in the series, which has been really awesome. So thank you, Alex, for everything you're doing there. Um, and we've covered so much really in regards to loan originators adopting the technology, the platform, tips and tricks, best practices. Today, we're going to dive into really some knowledge for loan originators to understand what the borrower workflow is going to look and feel like, correct?
That is correct. So
Yeah.
today, oh yeah,
Well,
go
hang,
right
hang
ahead.
on just a second, Alex. I just want to make sure to set the proper expectation as we move forward to on this topic today. Make sure, of course, the Q&A, dare I say it's a chat. Is it a chat or a Q&A?
It's going to be a
Nonetheless,
Q&A today.
Q&A today lists the questions out. The best part, the whole, not the entire reason, but a large reason why we love doing these webinar series is for, in fact, the Q&A portion. So housekeeping items, we will address those at the end and open this up to dive into some of those questions. I'll be kind of keeping an eye on them as well. And Alex, you know me, I'm going to probably jump in and interrupt from a loan originator perspective every now and again. But really, this is a huge topic because the more knowledge we have as to what the borrower experience is going to be, the better we can, as originators, set the expectation for our clients moving forward. So I'm excited, Alex. Again, thank you. Yeah, let's dive right in.
All right, sounds great to me. So with this, I also kind of want to set the stage here just a little bit. So with this product in general, you may have heard this before if you've had one of my trainings, maybe it's something you've seen on a promotional document. This application process typically takes about 5 to 10 minutes. But the big thing with it is that it is borrower driven. It is entirely up to the client how fast they want to go through that. So it could be a situation where, quite simply, maybe they just want to take a nice summery weekend to think about it. Maybe it's a situation, though, where they get maybe confused on a certain part. Or maybe it's something where we need to do something on our end through our operations center to maybe clear up a data discrepancy. These are kind of some things I want to talk about today so that you can properly set the expectation for your borrower, what this application is, what to expect, and more specifically, what to have them prepare so that they can zip through this. A lot of people just want a quick and easy process. They want to get it done in 5 minutes. And so it's really good to set them up ahead of time, not just send them in there blindly. They can do it. It's a pretty simple application. I think most people will be able to go through it on their own, but really setting the stage of saying, hey, this is what you're going to need. Have this ready before you begin the application. This is what you should expect. So when they get to those pages, they're not confused. They know what they need to do, or they already have everything ready, and they can go through it, get it done again about 5 to 10 minutes. And then we'll go ahead and get them over to Notary. So we're going to talk about that today. We're also going to be talking about, well, Notary. We're going to talk about the funding timeline. We're going to talk about things you can expect when you're kind of monitoring your own pipeline and kind of things to keep an eye out for. So without further ado, kind of what I want to show here is I want to show our very wonderful lead portal system. So with everything I'm talking about here today, and this is a fantastic thing that is really, really beneficial for you, is the fact that, again, when you complete an inquiry, it sends an automated email. That's all well and good, but again, you're blindly sending the client in. And for those of you, maybe you're in a more retail space where you have referral links. Again, that's blindly sending the borrower in. What I suggest, and I think Tim, you'll suggest as well,
Absolutely, I will.
is doing copy the borrower link or maybe just making your own email in general. But if you do copy borrower link on the inquiry, and we've said this before in previous webinars, I've said this before in previous trainings, but this will allow you to, one, copy the link where they're going to begin the application. In number two, you can put this into your own email to where you can then go ahead and set up those expectations for your client to say, hey, this is what you're going to need. This is what you need to expect. This is what I suggest you do as you go through that application, and any more information you need to include.
Okay,
And
so Alex, I just want to
yes.
drive the point home here for for everybody, make sure everyone's clear on what Alex is saying here. And this is really, this isn't required. This is a best practices or tips and tricks concept. So you've gone through, you've done the lead portal inquiry, you've gotten offers, you've hit proceed. We've covered that on past webinars and trainings. That then automatically sends an email from Figure to your client referencing you with a link for them to complete the application. What Alex just demonstrated here is one additional step you could take as an originator to come into your lead portal, copy that borrower link, okay? Structure your own email saying, hey, it was so great talking to you today. As we mentioned, you have numerous offers available. Want to make sure you receive this link. Also, be prepared to have this, which are some of the things Alex is going to demonstrate. And this is just a high touch experience. And that's why we are making the suggestion for you. Is it required? No. Will it help and drive the file and your client forward? Absolutely. So Alex, again, I interrupted you a bit.
You have the world's greatest insight into this kind of stuff. I love the interruptions. My big thing here is I'm going to tie everything into this one particular thing. So I think it is so important here. And another thing I like to mention, Tim did a wonderful email that he sent out as well in this regard, but we've updated the contact cards to include contact phone number, as well as you can now upload a photo of either yourself or your own icon, maybe a logo of your company. This way they will see that on every single page of the application. So if they have any questions, they can email you or they can give you a call. So there's kind of that back and forth there to really go ahead and help your borrower out. But of course, we always have our operations center who's absolutely there, dedicated to help you. All righty, let's go ahead. Let's go into an application together as one of your clients. So what I want to do, Tim, is I want to go through an application together, but what I want to look at is some key things we can talk about to really helping our clients set up for success. A lot of the application is very easy. It's something someone can just zip through really quickly, but I want to focus on some key parts so you can really hone in on to help them go through in about 5 minutes. So if we go ahead and we take a look here, I'm going to go ahead and swap over. Well, we're going to go ahead and begin an application. So this is saying I've done the inquiry. I've seen my client pre-qualifies. I've gone ahead and completed that inquiry. So it sends over that automated email and they've begun. So in this case, I, Alex, here as the client, well, the first step I have is I have to select my offer. So from here, I'm going to go through and I'm going to select my offer. And we've done some great webinar about this information. So this is something where they'll just go through and select and customize the offer they would like. That's one of the things you can talk to them about. Hey, this is what we've discussed. When I went through the inquiry, this is the offer we discussed, right? This is the amount we were talking about. This is the origination fee I was talking about. These are some of the things you can see. You can also see in the lead portal what type of pre-qualified offers were available on that inquiry. So this is something you can help them out and just kind of say, hey, this is what we talked about just as a reminder, but it is entirely up to your borrower to select the exact offer they want.
Yeah, and I just want to drive that point home. And this is a great first topic to set the expectation with the borrower. You may be on the phone with them, Alex, as a loan originator, and say, "Hey, it looks like you qualify for 350,000." You may select that as the loan originator as the offer, but be sure to prepare your borrower that they will be able to modify that offer. In other words, we're not the end all be all as loan originators. The borrower, when they click on and you're looking at the screen, the borrower will see. They are driving at this point. They can go in and modify that offer within the approved terms.
And that's another thing. I just skipped past that page. That's another thing I do just popped in my head there, Tim, is a lot of people will stop on that offer selection because maybe they want to think it over, talk to a spouse. You may see that. You'll get an email notification when they get to that page. You'll see it on your lead portal, but that could be so where one of your clients stops and maybe you see they sit there for a couple days. Maybe you want to follow up with them. Maybe you want to talk to them about it. Now, for here, they're going to provide their additional information. Marital status, ownership type, financial purpose, social security number. And the one I really want to focus on here is I want to focus on ownership type of the property. This is one of the things that your clients will select. And this is one of the things that we are going to check from an operations perspective to make sure that it is correct. This may be something that could slow down the application. We may be doing some sort of review to make sure it's accurate and true. If there's a discrepancy with what our system detects, maybe they think it is joint ownership when it's actually sole ownership. So it could be a conversation, or maybe it's just saying, hey, let's just talk about this real quick. Make sure to select the correct ownership, because this can slow down that application process if they select something that is incorrect. Now, the good news is almost every situation, we can just change it if it's incorrect. We typically will want maybe a copy of the deed just to make sure everything's, tried and true. But here specifically, we just want to make sure they're selecting the correct one so that they can just zip through this application without the need for a manual intervention by an agent.
Okay, Alex, here I come. I'm coming in
I
hot.
love it.
This is a huge topic for me because myself and I work with lots of loan originators on this topic where this ends up becoming an issue. And it's very important to understand that we as loan originators, we actually don't have this screen. We're not choosing ownership type at the point of inquiry. It's great to set the expectation with the borrower to make sure they truly understand how the property is currently held in title. Now, I know that sounds crazy. However, as a loan originator, I've always been shocked a little bit, Alex, if I'm being honest, of how many properties are actually held in trust, and yet the homeowner, the borrower, doesn't actually realize or remember or know that, and they'll choose sole owner or joint owner, only to find out at the 11th hour, which by the way is day 2, right? That it's in a trust. And then of course, not a big deal. We just need the certificate of trust. So a best practice for me personally, I love to always do my due diligence. Yes, I've gotten my offers, and just for fun, of course, I ask the borrower the question. And if they're not sure, I'll log on to firstam.com, if you will, just picking one off the top of my head. And I'll go and pull a property profile and look myself as the originator as to how title is currently held. Now, can I do anything about it? Of course not, other than set the expectation for the borrower. When I send them my email, thanking them for their time on the phone, I'll say, hey, I happen to notice the home is held in trust. Please have your certificate of trust prepared and ready to go. You see what I mean? Again, just setting that expectation. It's a one extra step on my part as a loan originator to do my due diligence and dive into that. But it's a great tip, Okay. I'm sorry.
That is such an incredible call out. Certificate of trust is one of the things we will need for trust ownership, just like Tim's saying. And it's something that if they have that already ready, we can expedite that review. We can get that done quickly. But it may be a situation where if they don't have it ready, they don't know about that. It could be a situation where they're waiting around for a phone call. We finally call them up, ask for it. They have to go find it. It could just take longer. So those are really good points, Tim. And just something to really kind of hone in on as just a way to kind of, again, help out your client before they even begin the application. We're going to go through, I'm going to skip through a lot of this. This is pretty basic, right? This is something they're going to select their financial purpose. They're going to put in their social. They're going to go ahead and agree to some disclosures. And then they're going to go through the HMDA questions, bunch of things we've gone through on previous webinars. So if you want more information about any of this, please check out our YouTube channel. We have all previous recordings on that YouTube channel, and we have some great tips on this, as well as income verification, which we're going to come up on. But again, if the client has any questions, there will be a contact card. I'm on a test website, so it's not visible for me, but you'll have your contact card visible at all times, as well as there will be a phone number and chat functionality for them to call or chat in. And that's specific to your organization, so the phone number may be different than what you're seeing on the screen. We're going to go through income verification together. I'm not going to talk about that during this webinar, Tim, because we did a wonderful one 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
So
ago,
again,
that's right.
there is a great recording of that, in fact, on our YouTube channel. But I'm going to go through, and this is honestly kind of tying into what we're talking about, though, setting the expectation, right? So this is something we talked about in our last webinar. Know how their income comes in. Talk to them about it. Let them know, hey, I usually let my clients know, have your username and password ready for your checking account so that they can link this up. Not just for income verification, but they can also do it for disbursement. Or maybe if they're self-employed, maybe taxes will be a great route. Let them know, hey, have your username and password for your tax repair, or maybe have an irs.gov account ready to go, that username and password. Whatever method they want to do, talk to them about ahead of time, especially when you're getting that total household income in there that you put on the inquiry. Let them know, hey, there's going to be income verification. These are the methods. This is how you're going to do it. Have this ready for it to really help them out so they don't hit this screen. Because from my experience, most clients hit that screen and their brain just completely shuts off because they have so many different options, they may not necessarily know exactly what to do. So that's where they're going to reach out to you. That's where they're going to reach out to our Ops Center. Setting up for success ahead of time will allow them to know exactly what to do. They'll be able to do it quickly here in a couple seconds, just like I did, and then move on.
By the way, again, great point, Alex. Another great expectation is set with the client. As we've had these conversations with them regarding how it is they get paid and where their income goes and wage earner, self-employed, all those different conversations we have, it will then allow you, the loan originator, to properly set the expectation. Most of the time, the personal bank statements is going to work for the primary amount of borrowers. However, when that's the case, be sure in your communication with your borrower, have your username and password ready for your personal bank accounts. You know what I mean? Set the stage. If we don't say anything to them, to Alex, you said it perfectly. It's like a borrower may get to that point and go, well, now what do I do? Now, on the flip side, we have tons of borrowers that are very familiar with the online banking platform or linking, and they don't even, they do it in seconds, right? But setting that expectation is huge.
And then from here, we're going to go through, we're going to select our disbursement account as the client where we want the funds to go into. I've already selected that Chase account, so it's there. We're going to go ahead and authorize that auto pay discount, all generalized stuff. Now, Tim, this is where one of the big things I wanted to talk about today, identity verification. This is a very simple process, but so many different clients that go through this happen to just, well, simply mess up in one way or another. We go through an automated method like everything to verify identity. And what we're going to need is we're going to need a photo, as you can see, of a valid US driver's license, state ID, passport, or permanent resident card. They can take a photo of this if they're on a mobile device or say a tablet. They can upload a photo if they're on a laptop. I'm on a MacBook right now. I can do that. This is where I really suggest one of the areas where you say, hey, before they even begin the application, having the conversation to get them prepared or just putting in that email to say there's going to be an identity verification. Either have your ID ready so you can take a photo with your phone or have a photo of it. And the biggest thing is, again, because it goes through this automated method, a lot of the times what will happen is that ID will fail to verify. Well, why? Because we need all four corners showing. There can be no glare because that'll mess up the system. It needs to be on a clear, dark surface, not say like a white surface, because sometimes it'll blend in. We need it to be just a clear photo of their front of their ID, whatever that ID is. And a lot of the times people will take it from really far away, or they'll take it too close, or, there will be glare or something because there will be a light that they're shining on it. Whatever that is, just let them know ahead of time. Hey, make sure to have a photo ready, take your time with it, make sure it's clear, or just have your mobile device ready and they can log into the mobile device if they're not on one. But I would always tell my clients, hey, have, again, the username and password ready, however they want to do income verification. And then I would say, have your ID ready or a photo of your ID.
Yeah, and Alex, you and I both know we see this a lot where a photo is uploaded and it's rejected. The ID is uploaded, rejected, rejected. And more times than not, when we dive into it, what we'll find is they put their driver's license on their scanner and scanned it, and it's a PDF, not a JPEG. it will reject, to be clear. And so it has to be a JPEG or a PNG file, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And it can't be, just like you're saying, a black and white scan. A lot of people are used to that. The system cannot read it.
Yeah, so awesome. Another great expectation to set going in.
What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and upload a driver's license as a client because I had that expectation set. I have this little fun photo here I like to use. Again, this is a bad example of this, as you can see. Again, there's stuff in the way. It's very far out. The system probably won't be able to read this. If it doesn't read it, that's okay. They can just upload another photo. It's not like it's the end of the road. But again, it's just another thing that's going to slow down this quick application. So for something like this, again, if they just zoomed in a little bit more, well, they could be golden there. So if I just go ahead, zoom in on the ID so it has all four corners showing, it's clear, there's no glare, we're good to go. Just upload that and we're all set.
Alex, at that point,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, at that point, does the borrower know if it's passed or not?
That's exactly correct. They will know if it fails, it will alert them on their dashboard to upload a new ID. It's not going to stop them from progressing in the application, but we're going to need to verify their identity before notary. So they'll have to just take a new photo, upload a new photo as many times as needed until it verifies through that system.
Yeah, and that's great. And by the way, a little side note, but related, for those of you on the call, you may or may not have noticed, but in our platform now, we've added 3 more loan originator status updates. And one of them, Alex, I'm happy to report, is in fact surrounding the topic of IDs. It will send an email to you, the loan originator, saying, hey, your borrower needs to upload your ID. This is a great opportunity for you to revisit this topic with them, should they be having any trouble uploading it. So the loan officer will now receive an email as well.
I love that. All right, we have hit what I normally say is the end. We're now at final offers. This is where they can go ahead. They can modify their final offer if they would like to. From here, once they hit continue, they're locked in with that offer. So if they do want to change it, they'd have to do a whole new brand new application, and we can't guarantee the same offers. So they just need to confirm exactly what offer they want. In this case, because I've done it so quickly, all the underwriting, the hard credit, and everything came through the same. So it's the same offer. But let's take a look. I'm going to continue on with this application. This is something I don't normally show when I do a lot of my sales trainings, but we're going to go through, and what the system's attempting to do is it's attempting to generate documents for this individual so they can agree to them and finish up this application for notary. Now, this is going to be one of the last things they need to do on the application. However, we had a bit of an issue here. So what's going to happen here is it's going to pop up and it's going to say, hey, we're in the middle of reviewing your application. There's something going on with this application. Please go ahead and go to your dashboard and wait for the next business day. In this particular case, it is a test website. Don't look at the wording too closely. But we're stopped now at this point as the client. It's saying, hey, something's going on. We're going to do a review. Come back later. Tim, what do we do in this situation? What kind of advice would you give to a loan officer in this situation?
I would suggest to continue to keep an eye on the pipeline, and those status notifications that are going out. We now have a total of 7 of them, and the biggest of which I'm most excited about, is that now the borrower is ready to log in and schedule their notary. Historically, we've been somewhat in the dark as loan originators on that topic. However, not any longer. Now the loan officer will receive an email letting them know when they can do that as well. And always, 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 when communicating with the borrower, if they're unsure about anything, I'm letting loan originators know, just advise the client to log back into their portal. They can either simply hit continue, and if they're stuck at some level, there will always be a chat function, which I think, my own personal belief, this is just my personal belief, I think that's the quickest turnaround to very quick customer service, directly with the borrower.
That is incredible because that's exactly my same sentiments. So for the client themselves, right, if they're going through this, they get stuck, well, they can just chat in. They can ask, and our response times are low. We're actually making improvements to our op center, so it's even lower, to where they just get an immediate response, even on the weekends. And we're expanding out our hours, in fact, on the weekends, so that they can get immediate assistance to say, hey, I got stopped. It says you're doing a review. What's going on there? What's happening there is that that is our key place where we do a fraud review by the system. So the system's going to check before those documents are generated to make sure there's no discrepancies. Well, what happened there? Quite simply, I use the same social security number in this test environment as tens of thousands of other applications that I've done in the past. So the system's stopping us saying, whoa, 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 it looks like you
Yeah.
have other socials in there.
You're gonna
So
have the FBI knocking on your door here soon, Alex.
one of these days I will be arrested, but for right now, they haven't caught me. So what I did on the back end was I just went ahead. I worked as an agent would. I got everything all cleared up. And now, as the client, if I go in here and I hit continue, we're going to go back to the screen. I can't modify my final offer because I've already hit continue, but now I can move on. It's as simple as that. So if they get stuck like that, they can just chat or call in. Just like Tim said, it is super simple. They can talk to one of our agents and we can get it cleared up for them. And that's only if we need to. Now from here, it's pretty simple. They're going to agree through all the documentation on here. This is going to be all the documents and everything. This is all going to be state and application specific, so I'm not really going to cover these. The only real call out I have is it's going to have the full HELOC agreement in here. So it's going to detail their offer in full. So they're going to be able to review this in full if they would like to. And another thing we're going to do is we're going to extend out their expiration 29 days when we pull the hard credit. So now they have an additional 29 days. If they really want to read through this, if there's anything where they want to think it over, otherwise all they have to do quite simply is hit I accept and move through it. So nothing too crazy, but this will be all the documentation they have to accept. And then we're going to go ahead and get them ready for notary. Now, once we go through and we agree to these documents, well, here's another thing. They will have to add on additional signers if needed. Now, with additional signers, these are going to be just the signers required for notary. We're not going to pull their credit. We're not going to look at their information. They're not financially responsible for the repayment of the loan, as that fun wording is. Quite simply, we just need their personal information, and what they're going to need to show up for the notary or do it electronically if it's e-notary. Now, one of the big things here I really kind of like to talk about when kind of thinking about like setting expectations, talking about like how to set someone up for success, is the fact that one, obviously an additional signer, right, title owners of the property would be added on. But one of the questions I've got asked a lot in the past comes around to things like community property and homestead states. You'll have to add on a spouse. So if you remember, I selected married on that additional information section. So I selected married. My property for financing is in California, which is a community property state. So the system is requiring me to add on an additional signer who would be my spouse. If anyone else is required, I can add on more. It's saying here if I need to otherwise skip this step, but as you see, I do not have an option to skip it. The system is going to detect that. So it is something to kind of talk about. It's kind of something to kind of look into. I usually would let, a client know, hey, if you are married, just kind of take a look at their state. If you're married, you're going to have your spouse on as an additional signer. One other thing I'd like to throw in there, because this has come up, we can do split signings if needed. So if they are separated, we can do split signings if the situation occurs. But our system's smart enough to detect if there's any additional signers. We're just going to add on their legal information, such as their name, address, and some brief information. They can add more. So if they have a bunch of title owners, I think the most I've seen, Tim, is about 15 additional signers. There's about 15 on title. Yeah, that was a different situation for me. But they
Alex,
can add them all.
on this topic, while you're here on this page, I just want to dive in a little bit further here for everybody. So let's assume for a second that I own a home. I'm the primary borrower on this HELOC, but my grandmother is on the title of the property. My brother is on the title of the property. But I'm not married to any of them, of course. Are they required to be additional signers because they're on title?
That is correct. Any title owners would be as additional signers. So you would just add on anyone who needs to sign. So that would be for, say, joint ownership or that trust ownership that we talked about.
By
They
the way, can
simply
I
need to
just tell
sign.
you, Alex, that from a loan originator perspective, for all of us, it should make tons of sense. In the spirit of it prevents a husband, if you will, from doing a line of credit without the wife's knowledge, right?
Mhm.
So, there's no shenanigans there.
I've had those situations myself in the past. Those are some fun conversations. But again, they just have to sign. We're not going to pull their credit. Now, here we are at the final step before notary. Our documents are being prepared for the notary. What's going to happen here is our operations center is going to do a final review. We have to quite simply make sure everything's correct and then bundle the documents together for notary. And then we are going to sign off, basically saying this application is ready for notary, which will then allow them to proceed to manual notary in this case, or e-notary if their county allows it. So they can modify their additional signers, add them on if we need to. They can always change that. But for right here, this is where, again, it's a quick 5 to 10 minute application. We're done at this point. We're done with the application. It is now up to our operations center to get the final piece done for them to go to notary. And if they would like to expedite this, if they're like, hey, I want to do this now, I want to get this scheduled, or if maybe it's e-notary and they're like, hey, let's get this done same day, we really encourage your client to call in, to chat in, whichever method they prefer, just to let our operations center know, like, hey, I completed this application. Can you go ahead and expedite this? Because our agents can do it right there on the phone. Put them on a brief hold, get everything done. As long as there's no big discrepancies we have to clear up, we can get a lot of this done just immediately, or we can just follow up with them same day, letting them know when they're ready to go to over to notary. Now, one final thing just to keep in mind here is if any of the additional signers are incorrect, we may also talk to the applicant about that. But again, they can modify or they can add on any additional signers if need be.
At this point.
At this point, correct.
Perfect.
Now, what I'm doing on my end, a little bit of a stalling, but I'm doing everything an agent would on the back end. You can't see it, but basically I'm getting the property legal description. I'm telling the system to bundle everything. And then if we go to our dashboard and we go ahead and continue, we are now at manual notary. So again, I highly suggest anyone who wants to get this done quickly, just call in to expedite that last step. It is always going to be a blocker because again, we want humans to do human review, put manual eyes to make sure there's no discrepancies in this automated system, but we can do it very, very quickly. And this is something just to have your client call in if they need. Now, with this, again, we have to schedule our notary because it's California, it requires a manual notary. However, if it was e-notary, they would just go ahead and connect to their e-notary session. Takes about 5 minutes, very, very quick. But here in this case, because it is a manual notary, what I can do is I can just go ahead and request an appointment. Has to be 24 hours in advance. So we'll just go ahead and select whatever date. We can see, today's Wednesday. The next day available would be Thursday coming up. I can do it, say, maybe for Friday or Saturday if I wanted to. They're just going to pick the date, time, and location where they want that notary to occur, their house, Starbucks, whatever it may be. And then what's going to happen is our third party is going to go ahead and confirm that. They'll receive an email confirmation along with the notary's information. And then that's it. They just have to show up along with any additional signers to that notary appointment. And that's the last step. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Alex, well, one, great demonstration there. And hopefully we've added enough tips and tricks to properly set the expectation as salespeople to our clients. But I want to share a great story with you. I just spoke to a loan originator the other day that was actually with a client in their kitchen, and I can't remember the state, but literally while sitting right there at their kitchen table, they went all the way through and even completed the e-notary. The only thing left was the 3-day rescission. That was it. I was like, wait, what? Now, does that happen every time? Of course not. I mean, everything has its own quirks and everything, right? But When we can actually hold the hand of our client, our borrower, and walk them through the process, which is why, Alex, you know, I love the lead portal, which is why I love talking about tips and tricks and best practices, right? When we set this expectation, day one, initial conversations with our clients, to my core, I have to believe it's going to help it go even that much faster. Dare I say that? But it's, you know, because it's
Mhm.
already pretty doggone fast, right? But it really is true. And so, do you want to dive into some Q&A, or did you have anything you want to add on to there?
No, I love that very much. Let's go right into Q&A. It's my favorite
Okay,
part.
cool. So, a question here has the borrower has a FACTA hit error with Experian. He's called many times and even sent a letter to have it removed. Are we at a hard stop till he gets it removed? I'm going to take a stab at this answer here for you. Rusty asked the question. And no, you are not at a hard stop. When there's a FACTA set on their credit report, they have indicated a phone number the borrower has with Experian that they want to be contacted prior to anything moving forward. What our team will do is try and reach out to the borrower 2 times within 24 hours. Do I have that right, Alex?
That is correct.
Hey, check that out. I've actually been paying attention, right? So what you need to do when you see that FACTA alert, let the borrower know to expect a phone call from our team. Okay, when you see that, that's just set that expectation, but it's not a hard stop for us at all. It just means that our team needs to have a conversation with the borrower per their instructions, by the way. This is what's interesting, that your borrower has set that. So you don't need to have it removed. We just need to have our team contact the borrower.
This is actually a really good situation too, because there is actually one situation that's a hard stop with us, and that's if the FACTA alert does not have a phone number. If it
Ah,
doesn't have a phone number, our system will automatically go ahead and provide no offers in the inquiry because quite simply, we just can't call and do a follow-up. So it could be a situation where maybe they just want to call and add a number to that FACTA alert. So
oh,
it's
that's a
just something to
great call out,
consider.
Alex. Yeah, that's a great call out. So, Rusty, if you have any additional questions on that, you can certainly reach out if you wanted to myself after this call, and I'll help you walk through that. Maybe that's your situation, but we can dive into it at the file stage if you'd like. And then Dan asked the question. He says, before this ends, can we talk about documentation needed for a HELOC on investment properties? And let me ask, Alex, is there any different documentation for investment properties?
No, that's the great thing about our product. We don't like documentation. That's old school. We like the high-tech way. So no additional documentation required for investment or any of those secondary properties.
Yeah, so Mike asks, can you show what it looks like? Alex, we may have to go back in to do this. Can you
Oh,
show what it looks
absolutely.
like if they want to modify the offer? You were on that screen. However, we didn't go to the screen of actually modifying the offer. So while you're bringing that up, I'll jump
Mhm.
to the next question. And Rusty says, geez, so I need to make another application to let him know that to answer the phone call. Yes, Rusty, that is correct. And again, we can talk offline if you want. The good news is about making another application is it'll take you all of about 2 minutes. I will also share with everybody on the call what's so awesome is when you have to cancel and do a new inquiry, if your borrower had already gotten to the point of verifying income and their hard credit and that type of thing, everything is going to fast forward on your new inquiry. They're not going to have to go down that path again. So it's not completely from scratch. And then Dan asks the question, what if they recently purchased a property or recently rented the property and the investment property isn't on their most recent taxes? That's a multiple part question there, Dan. So you're challenging us. I love it. If they recently purchased the property, remember we have a 90-day seasoning. So from any title change at all is 90 days. So I obtained ownership, it's going to take at least 90 days. As far as if they recently rented the property and the investment property isn't on their most recent taxes, the answer I'll give there is for the most part, we're not looking at taxes, remember. In fact, we don't ever accept uploaded tax returns. If we're doing anything regarding taxes, it is simply tax transcripts for the purpose of looking at taxable income. And that's only assuming the borrower needs to go down that path because they can't link their personal bank accounts to verify income or their pay stubs to verify income. By the way, 2 weeks ago's webinar was all around the topic of income. It is on our YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out as well. And then, oh, Dan, you're saying you're looking to offset the housing liability. So, Alex, here's the scenario. I'm going to speak out loud for Dan here.
Mhm.
So they've purchased a home. The one they were living in is now a rental. 90 days later, they want to do a HELOC on their primary residence, let's say. How do they offset the mortgage payment on the now investment property? Can we show in the system rental income in the inquiry tool? I believe we can, by the way, because you've got annual income and then rental and investment income.
That is a really, really good question. I like that very much. That is correct. Yeah, so a couple things there I do want to touch on. Sorry, I was getting to the final offers there.
Yeah.
First biggest thing, keep in mind, right, is if, say, the investment property, for investment property, secondary properties, that is okay if it's not on their most recent taxes, as long as they're a title owner over 90 days, like Tim said, we're golden. You can go through, you can do that. And just like Tim was saying, on that inquiry tool itself, if we're trying to include your, say, rental income, let me go ahead and share my screen here real quick. On the inquiry, what Tim is talking about here is you're going to include their total annual income for income verification. It's gross income, including bonus, community property, homestead state, can include spousal income, et cetera, et cetera. But you can also include other income. This is investment, rental, as we're talking about, retirement, 401k, savings, that kind of thing. So feel free to include that on there as something we can verify. Just keep in mind, again, we don't have underwriters, so we can't manually review that. So it could be a situation like, for example, I rent and I send my money usually over via Zelle. Sometimes it's another method like Venmo. I have a good relationship with my landlady, but it could be a situation where a system can't pick it up. Or maybe if it's like a paper check situation or something like that, again, we can't manually review that stuff. So it could be one of those situations. I highly recommend put that in there, put the income in there. When they get to income verification, just link up checking, link up taxes, and then kind of go from there. But it definitely is, for one of those situations, as long as they got that equity, as long as you get those pre-qualified offers, they can put a HELOC on that investment property or secondary property.
Yeah, and by the way, on that rental question that Dan has asked in your scenario, Dan, I would tell you that one of the great questions to ask, having that conversation with the borrower up front, is, okay, they're renting out their property. How are they receiving the rents? In other words, are those rents going into their personal bank accounts? You see what I mean, Alex? Does that make sense the way I'm saying that?
Exactly.
Because if they're going to link their personal bank accounts, then in theory, the system should pick it up. Now, I have no way of promising that, but because it's going to look for the income that you've stated in those categories. And would a lease work, Dan? Alex, do you know, do we review lease agreements for?
No,
I
so
don't
we don't
think we do.
at least wouldn't work because again, we don't have anyone to review that type of stuff. That would have to be regular deposits, or it would have to be something that appears on their taxes or some other form of account. So if it was just simply like, hey, this is a lease or something like that, it would not necessarily go through our system. One of the big things, and we talked about this last time on our webinar, is the fact that with income verification, it literally takes them minutes to get there, and we do hard credit after income verification. So for a lot of the times, I always just let people know, hey, you can get to income verification, link up your checking, link up your taxes, and then go from there. Worst case, it doesn't work. You may have to look for another solution, maybe another product. But again, it only takes them a couple minutes to get there, and most people don't even need to verify their full stated income. So it could just be they link up their taxes, they link up their checking, they're good to go. But if it wouldn't be a situation where you could say, send in the lease document, we don't have anyone to review those.
Patrick has a great question. What if a divorce situation has recently placed them on title? In other words, my wife and I have gotten divorced, and I was awarded the home as part of my divorce decree. I will answer the first part of this and say, if I was already on title and my wife now comes off, that should be a non-issue. If I was never on title and now I'm being added onto title as a new owner as a result of the divorce decree, the 90-day waiting period would absolutely apply.
That's 100% correct.
Yes, Dan, your statement is right. So they put what they receive monthly in rents and reflects on their bank statements. that should work. That's how I would approach it starting off, especially in a scenario where tax transcripts aren't going to show you rental income, because in your scenario here, Dan, they just turned it into a rental 90 days ago. So you know that's not going to show up on their tax returns. And
All
then
right.
Mike, we're going to show him what it looks like to modify the offer. Is that right?
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and talk about that, because that is a fantastic question. And that is something I do want to show, because there's a couple scenarios where this could occur. So let's first talk about final offers. So this is the final offer screen. I've gone through and I've selected my offers. So I want an initial draw of, say, 378,469. That's how much I'm going to get dispersed. So say 5 business days. It's a pretty good amount of money to get my account. I'm going to have a monthly payment of, say, 3,000, a little over that, 3,200-ish for a fixed year of 30 years. But let's say, well, I don't want that much money, Tim. I really just need to get a new pool. It's only going to be about 100,000. I'm getting a bit greedy here. That's a bit too much for monthly payment. My wife's a bit mad at that. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and modify that. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to hit the modify button. And to answer your question, Mike, well, it's going to look exactly the same as the offer selection. So they're going to be able to go through based on their final offers, and they're going to be able to go through just like you would on an inquiry. And they're going to be able to select how much cash they want using the slider or the little tool. I see our test website has broken. That's pretty fun. I like that. We'll be able to select the origination fee and the term, just like we would on an offer. So what it is it's just bringing them to another offer selection screen to where they can then go ahead and update that offer to what they'd like. And again, this is the only chance they'll get to go ahead and do that before they move and lock it in, because it's going to be locked into that HELOC agreement I showed you. So if they wanted to go ahead and change it, that'd have to be a brand new application. So let's say, for example, I only want 101,000 with a 3.99 origination fee. I will do a 10-year. Why not? We'll go ahead and update that. It's going to go ahead and update that through the system. And then I can go ahead and go through, and that'll be my new offer. And I can modify that again if I wanted to, and again and again. It's until I hit continue to move on that they'll be locked in. And one other thing I want to talk about here, one really thing, because this is a really good question. I like this. This also can occur if they do not verify enough income. They can get what are called alternative offers, where the system says, hey, based on this much, you can borrow up to X amount, in which case they'll get another offer selection screen like that based on those offers. That can also happen again if their hard credit comes in differently. Maybe it comes in lower and they get maybe a little worse offers. I've seen it before where their hard credit had come in higher, actually, Tim, and the person got even better offers, and it stopped him and said, whoa, 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 have a better
Yeah.
rate. That was a
Right.
fun phone call. But from here, what's going to happen is this will be the last chance to modify. And again, once we hit continue, it's going to then lock it into that document signing.
Yeah.
Very, very good questions, everyone.
Yeah. Actually, we might have one more that just popped in. Can the client ever see the credit report to see what their liabilities are?
Mm-hmm. That is absolutely true. So what's going to happen there is that you are going to be able to see, number one, on Lead Portal, that credit pull. So one, for the inquiry, you'll see the soft credit pull. Again, when we do hard credit, it'll update for the hard credit. There's also going to be a document. I kind of skipped through it when we were going through the document signing, but there will be that credit report document that they're going to have to, they'll see, they'll accept. It's going to give them that full breakdown of that Experian credit report off the hard credit pull. And that'll be with the documents in Lead Portal. So you will also have a copy of that if you need to review it, have a conversation with them, whatever it may be. They'll have all their documents on their dashboard, so they can review that or download it at any time as well.
To be clear, for everybody, as a loan originator, when we're doing the inquiry, and remember, it's a soft pull at that point, you will see a total of liabilities and a FICO score. You will not see individual trade lines listed out with trade line history. Okay. At the end, however, Alex, to your point, and just confirm this for me if you can, the borrower actually sees their hard pull, which is still just the one bureau, right? With their liabilities and everything.
Correct.
Okay.
See if I could try to pull up a summary of that. So Dan, you ask a good question there, right? Is what we're doing is we're pulling the credit through Experian. It's going to be pulling that information, but we can't necessarily exclude anything. We're going to be pulling their credit. Experian's going to tell us their total revolving payments, and we're just going to factor that into their current DTI. So again, we're not going to be able to say manually exclude anything if it is on experience reporting. We're just going to go with what it is because, again, it is just the way the system is built out for that. And yes, we are considering debt consolidation. Tim, I don't know if you have more information about that, but we are looking at it.
We are absolutely looking at it, both in revolving debt as well as existing liens, because the topic comes up on a pretty regular basis regarding clients that currently have a second a HELOC in place that they would like to replace it with this fixed rate product. Right now, today, we don't have it, but trust me when I tell you, the team and the engineers and the product dev team, they're all working on it. I wish I could tell you a launch date, but it is coming. I feel confident that it is on its way. By the way, that will help us from a qualifying standpoint. It will be a huge lift for all of us. Now, Dan, you've asked some great questions, but I maybe want to back up a little bit and maybe set the right expectation here. Will this result in an offer for every single client you run an inquiry for? Of course not. It won't. However, the magic is it'll only take you a couple minutes to get to that point. Is this a product that is a traditional underwrite, package up a full loan, order a full appraisal, send it in? No, it is not. This is a quick look, your fastest option typically to get your borrowers in and get them through with very little resistance. So with that being said, just understand that what we all know as originators is like, well, I'm going to send over the last 12 months worth of bank statements from the business showing they pay the car payment. Keep in mind, we don't have anyone to review those. So that's why it's not an option for us. So does it fit every time? No, but that's okay because you're going to be able to move quickly through what will work and what won't work. Okay. The other thing is I'll just share with you all that I have maybe a slightly different perspective on this. Sometimes the lack of manual underwriting, if you will, can be frustrating, but all of us as loan originators also know that actual manual underwriting can also be frustrating, right? It's just who we are as originators, and we're always looking for solutions. It's who we are. But it's actually good news for all of us at the end of the day, when you think of this on a much larger scale, that everything that fits in our box looks and feels the same. It is easy to securitize. It's easy to sell. It's easy to manage. It's easy because there are very few exceptions, right? So good news, bad news, very, very quick. It fits in the box. Great. If not, well, maybe it's time for a different strategy. And then, of course, we're always looking for ways to improve, especially right now. And, Alex, earlier, I missed an opportunity to interrupt you, so I'm going to go backwards in time and do it now. We were showing for the attendees here the modifying the offer screen. I mentioned earlier recent enhancements to loan originator status updates. Well, I'm happy to report that one of the new ones also added is in fact that the borrower has made their final offer choice. You, the loan originator, will now receive an email saying, hey, your borrower's made their final offer choice. So you can log into the portal and you can say, oh, they only wanted 90,000, not 300,000. So just a little bit better from a knowledge perspective of being able to manage your database and that type of thing. But you will now be notified when the borrower makes their offer choice.
I love it. And again, just remember, if the client needs anything, we have a full operations center, so they can absolutely call or chat in. You can, for the most part, let us keep it like it's on autopilot, but your contact card is always going to be on there. You're going to have full visibility into everything, both in those emails and on the lead portal, and really just kind of set up your clients for success. Let them know what to expect. They'll be able to go in, they'll be able to zip through it. And if they would like to call in to us, have it expedited, get them over to notary. And then from there, the fantastic thing is we fund after that. They may have a 3-day rescission period on a primary residence, but it funds automatically after that point. They'll get the money very quick. They'll be very happy, and so will you.
Yeah, no, it's all great news. Okay, so let's just do a real quick recap. We've taken a look at the borrower experience. We know now as loan originators to maybe set the proper expectation with their clients from a high level. How do they hold title? How are they paid? Advise the client on best way to verify their income, right? Set the expectation of the client when they click complete the application and accept my offers. These are all really, really good touch points, everybody. So please be sure to set that expectation with your clients. Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure this is going to be going up on our YouTube channel here probably before the end of the day or so.
Correct.
We also have some fantastic links to client-facing videos. And when I say short videos, I mean the longest is 3 minutes and 12 seconds long. And that is a quick demo that you can share with your client to set the expectation. Hey, you've received an email. Here's what you can expect. Watch this quick tutorial. So it's been very powerful. A lot of loan originators love having access to that link. So we'll make sure to get that to you as well.
All right, wonderful. Thank you all very much for your time today. We'll be sending an after email with links to everything. And as always, we are going to be doing another one of these 2 Wednesdays from now, I should say. So you'll get dates and information. Please check out our YouTube. Please check out our LinkedIn for more information. And with that, thank you very much from the Figure Sales Success team.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Alex.
Bye.